case if I want to make a large scale social impact in the lives of all the people, including citizens of a state or a country, then public policy can be a good option for that.
So I call myself an accidental PM.
Yeah.
Accidental policy manager.
Okay.
Niti Aayog has a unique position within the Indian governance ecosystem at the central government level because it interacts with all the other ministries and with the Prime Minister's office. Once I understood how government functions and by extension how people within government functions, that is when I understood that, okay, this is an area that I want to continue to invest in.
Okay.
So I believe there is no one ideal entry point into public policy. You can come with a different set of skill than all the others, and you can make a contribution to the policy ecosystem.
Maybe with technology now it's time for public policy puzzle and technology interventions to bring a level playing field in public policy.
Public policy seems a very complex and terrifying thing sometimes, and it is very important to simplify and demystify it so that everyone can relate to it.
First you raise the problem, then they say you come and solve it also. So I think half of the people, they know that there is a problem, but they don't want to raise it because they know it will gonna come back to them.
I feel that public policy is here to stay, at least for next decade. This could be one of the most aspirational career options that could come up for young graduates, and let's not land into this field by accident. Let it be by choice.
Hello everyone. So we are here in our episode 3 of Public Policy Puzzle podcast. Today is going to be a really interesting discussion because we have 3 guests over here. And we are here to navigate the questions around careers in public policy, how to navigate it. Because that seems to be a most fascinating field for a lot of young graduates out there and a lot of people. But it is also one of those most misunderstood one because they feel that might be that is only for the government jobs, that might be for a very niche segment, how to navigate that particular path. So I think all these things we are going to address in this particular session, in this particular chat today. So let's welcome our guest. We have Arun Sudarsan from the Quantum Hub. Welcome, Arun.
Thank you.
We have Manu Sakunia, and he is a very good friend and the founder of My Career Saathi. Welcome, Manu.
Thank you, Priyanka.
And Urvashi, she is my venture partner, a very good friend, chai buddy, whatever you want to say. And currently also, she has an extensive experience when it comes to the industry partnership. And she's bringing the industry perspective on the table that how placements happens specifically when you talk about in public policy or in the space of public policy. So yeah, I would just like to introduce and just share your journey first of all, and then we will move and begin the conversations. Arun, over to you.
Thank you, Priyanka. So I am a public policy manager at the Quantum Hub Consulting. We are based out of Lajpat Nagar in New Delhi. My background, I'm a graduate in economics from IIT Madras and National University of Singapore. And after that, I went and worked with Niti Aayog, then with Civic Data Lab, and now with the Quantum Hub. My journey to public policy is accidental. If I had my way, I would have been a teacher in my life. But yeah, I'm in public policy and I'm eager to continue. Yeah.
Hello everyone, I am Manu Sakunia and I am a certified career counselor with over a decade of experience in career counseling. And in the past 10 years, I have had the opportunity to guide 10,000 individuals ranging from school and college students to working professionals. And I also got an opportunity to work with different central government initiatives like National Career Service and Pradhan Mantri Yojana, wherein I have had the first-hand experience of working in a policy space also. So yes, my journey has also been through hits and trials by doing different experiments in order to figure out what is best for me. And because of this, I have made my mission that I should help as many individuals as possible in figuring out their best possible career.
Urvashi?
I'm Urvashi Shahi. I'm co-founder of Public Policy Puzzle. I've been associated with the Public Policy Education Institute, Indian School of Public Policy, since past 3 years, handling career services, alumni engagement, basically looking after industry partnerships for ISPP. Wherein in past 3 years, I've got to speak to so many industry professionals across think tanks, across consulting firms, across corporates, and also certain government fellows as well. But prior to ISPP, my first interaction with public policy was through Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, where I was senior research fellow and I was looking after insolvency changes that were coming in and doing research on insolvency and the graduate insolvency program that came in.
It's quite fun when on a Saturday morning you have this kind of conversation to have, and that too, you all know, very few people know we have been really, really good friends. We came together, worked together. Apart from you, Arun, like we three met during our journey at Indian School of Public Policy specifically, and then we navigated it. So we would like to begin from Manu, because Manu, you are handling where the people even start, the students start to think to get into different streams, right? And that is a time wherein the students and more or less the parents are also quite confused, because if you talk about Indian scenario right now, how to choose a stream, on what parameters to choose a stream, right? And then when you talk to public policy at the top, right? So how do you think that choosing at stream at a school level, can also help to cultivate those seeds, whether you want to go and what profession you want to choose when you grow up, when you go to the higher studies specifically, how this all relates specifically?
That's a very interesting question, Priyanka. And I think it is very important to think as early as possible. And why I'm going to tell you that we all are interested and inclined towards one thing or the other, but we take up a lot of time in figuring out that what is that thing. So in career counseling, we classify individuals into few categories. So I'll tell you, there are few individuals who are driven by machines and technology. So we must have seen in our surroundings that there are kids who want to play with toys. They always pull it apart and then join it together. So we know for sure that they are made for engineering or technology or fields related to it. There are people who are fascinated with ideas. They imagine a lot. They daydream a lot. They will create new stories in their minds. They are good in drawing and they can depict whatever is going on in their mind through pictures. Then there are individuals who are driven towards making a positive contribution in the lives of others, but they do not know where to begin. And that is why we have to have initiatives like Public Policy Puzzle, wherein we can tell them that public policy is something that is relatable to each and every individual. Okay. So in case if someone wants to make a career in social impact, there are 4 broad pathways. First is, in case if I want to make a positive difference in the life of a particular individual, then maybe a route to psychology or a route to counseling is good. In case if I look to make a positive contribution in the lives of a target population in a specific geography, then I can think about social work. But in case if I want to make a large scale social impact in the lives of all the people, including citizens of a state or a country, then public policy can be a good option for that. So I think that kind of understanding is very much required in at early stages of our life, so that children can also think about choosing public policy as a viable career alternative or a career choice for that matter.
Okay, so Manu, great points, but I'll come back to you because that would be more interesting for me to know at that early stage, how to gauge that the person or they actually want to do something sort of that. They want to make a change or they want to make an impact. That is I think most of the challenges that we face. So we shall come back to you. Now moving to Arun. So Arun, you have worked with Niti Aayog. Then you have worked with Civic Data Lab as well. Then you are currently with the Quantum Hub. How your journey has been so far?
So I call myself an accidental PM.
Yeah.
Accidental policy manager.
Okay.
Because while I was graduating from the National University of Singapore, I wanted a job. I think that was it.
And I think you are addressing what most of the young people want to go for.
Yes. So I wanted a job, and it so happened that Niti Aayog was recruiting their second big cohort of young professionals. And I applied. There was an interview, and I got it. But when I joined Niti Aayog and I spent the year there working on aspirational districts program, working with Shri Amitabh Kant, who was the CEO then, and Dr. Rajiv Kumar, who was the vice chairman there. The experience that I got is unparalleled. And I'll tell you why. It's because you get a sense of how policy is made at the highest levels. Niti Aayog has a unique position within the Indian governance
Mhm.
ecosystem at the central government level, because it interacts with all the other ministries and with the Prime Minister's office. So, depending on the sector that you get allocated to under the division, you will interact with multiple other departments. You will interact with state governments.
Mhm.
So that kind of an exposure is very difficult to get in any other job within the sector.
Mhm.
Once I understood how government functions, and by extension how people within government functions, that is when I understood that, okay, this is an area that I want to continue to invest in.
Okay.
I moved to Civic Data Lab, which was at the time it was a remote organization,
Mhm.
and I was working as a public finance specialist there.
Okay.
I was looking at how budgets are formed. How can I get more of the budget data in the open for the general public to understand?
Mhm.
We all, when we buy something, when we earn some money, we pay taxes.
Yeah.
We pay different other kind of fees to the government. And how is that getting routed to government services and the public services? So for 4 years, I worked on a project called the Open Budgets India project, which is the largest repository of public finance information in the country. You just go to the platform. If you want to know, let's say, what is the budget of Delhi government, or let's say Assam, Maharashtra, Bihar, you can get maybe 10 years of data there. Understand how the earnings have grown, how the spending has grown, and it can give you answers to some of the common questions that you have. And after that, I came to Delhi, because unfortunately, if you stay away from Delhi for far too long in the
Yeah.
public policy space, you are as good as invisible. So I wanted to make myself visible, and I came to Delhi. And now I am in Delhi, and at the Quantum Hub, I work mostly on gender and disability related projects, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, that's been my journey.
Okay. So just one follow-up question
Yeah.
on that. How do you feel like, so for youngsters, right, there are different entry points
Yes.
to get into public policy space, right? It could be like you have mentioned, one is the government sector, then you have civil societies also, then you have corporates as well, businesses,
Yes.
and also you have that multilateral organizations, right? So let's say, not at the school level, because they still have a lot many years to build up on that. For the young, fresh graduate, right? How to choose? Like, what are the skill sets? But is there any way out to just figure it out? What is supposed to be an ideal entry point if you have certain specific skill sets?
So I believe there is no one ideal entry point into public policy. You can come with a different set of skill than all the others, and you can make a contribution to the policy ecosystem.
Mhm.
And the reason is because public policy and the jobs in public policy, particularly those with, let's say, government or government adjacent organizations or civil society organizations, is in essence public service jobs.
Mhm.
Because you are trying to come in and make a small change in the area that you're working in. Let's say you are an engineer,
Okay.
and you're coming in and working with a civil society organization. As simple as making a WhatsApp bot that will make it easy for beneficiaries to identify which schemes that they are eligible for, that is impactful. You don't necessarily have to come with a degree in economics or political science to fit in the public policy ecosystem. What you need is a mentality of, okay, I'm going to make some change today, and being engaged with the policy around you, policy and politics around you. If you are aware, if you are interested, then you can come in any way into the system. And once you get into the system, then you can understand, okay, is this something that works for me? If not, then there are other avenues. You can work with government at multiple levels. You can work with civil society organizations at either at a research policy level or at the grassroots level. You can work with multilateral organizations, or you can work with businesses, social enterprises. So there are opportunities are galore. You just have to figure out what works for you. But there is no ideal entry point. Every experience will have um, will help you in succeeding in any other sector.
This is a different perspective on that. Just a very quick one, and then we'll move to Urvashi. You started with Niti Aayog.
Yeah.
So it's one of those most reputed organization. It's one of a kind of dream organization to start with when somebody is looking in public policy. And maybe you have your credentials supporting to that also, like you just made it to Niti Aayog.
Yeah.
So take an example, maybe a tier 2 city graduate who might not have that much of exposure, being very average and coming out of any Delhi University colleges, let's say,
Yeah.
Hansraj for that matter, Daulat for that matter. So Niti Aayog might be his or her dream as well, but not everybody is going to get a chance or something like that, or maybe get a chance also, because there is a different way you perceive it and, if you're going to prepare it. For them, what are the opportunities are there, wherein easy to get and easy to start with, like how this space is building and absorbing those young graduates, right, at an average level, coming out from very average academic institutions or something like that.
So let me preface by saying that most jobs in the policy ecosystem usually requires at least a year of work experience.
Okay.
Because it is also an indication that you are experienced enough to work in a system, within a system. So if you have a work experience in any sector, then shifting to another job is easy. Within the government, most of the government departments in central government and state governments have young professional roles which are open for undergraduate students.
Maybe fellowships also can.
Fellowships also. So that is a way you can get in. And once you get some experience in, let's say, a Delhi government department or a subordinate body within the government, then it is easy to go and, let's say, apply for a Niti Aayog or other departments. But the opportunities are there. Keep searching. I think that's the best.
That's actually, I want to understand what are the opportunities at the grassroots level, not moving at the higher level.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, Urvashi, you have spent a very substantial time for understanding the demand and supply side of it, because you have seen both of the sides. You're dealing with industry partnerships and all, and you exactly know what kind of demand or kind of roles are emerging or already emerged in this particular space from the last 5-6 years. And exactly, is there any specific requirements that they're having in terms of, let's say, academic qualification, that's the hard skills, or in also terms of soft skills? Or do you see any kind of trend is coming? Okay, you can say for government, these are the must-haves. You won't be able to crack a government organization if you do not have 1, 2, 3 checkpoints, let's say. But then it's easy for you to crack an NGO or think tank or getting into development sector kind of thing. Yes.
So I feel, being part of interaction with industry and different kind of organizations since past 3 years, one pattern which I've observed is that earlier there were usually non-profit sector and government sector that were coming up with such positions wherein they wanted policy professionals. But slowly and gradually, we've seen these positions opening up for, people with lesser experience also in private sector as well. So I think that shift is very visible, wherein we've seen, as part of Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, so Samaj and Sarkar were any which ways, they were very open for policy professionals even earlier. But that shift in Bazaar being open, you've seen that news that OpenAI's first employee in India was a policy professional. So even a lot of opportunities opening up within corporate sector. And one thing which I've also observed is that within corporate sector, what they're also preferring is that somebody who has the understanding of business and maybe has some understanding of policy through maybe short-term courses that they do, and then they can venture and transition into such positions that open, because the basic understanding of business is also essential when you will be doing or handling government relations or be part of government relations for corporate sector. But such opportunities are really coming up, and that's a change that I've seen. And one thing which I've also observed interacting to people who've been working in the sector is also that this, as of now, like, it's not like they join a particular organization and then they'll go in the same pattern, like up the ladder in the same organization or a similar kind of organization. They tend to switch the kind of organizations also. So maybe just start with think tank and then later joined a consulting firm as well. Or maybe started with industry association and joined a corporate. So that switch between kind of organization is something when we see the data of people who've crossed certain years in the sector, you can see that switch is also there. So that way, I think the exit opportunities in whatever you do is also very great in terms of re-entering the particular sector in case you've gauged and gained those skills which are essential.
Got it. Got it. So there is also one point, matlab maybe Manu or you, anybody can take up. So Manu, you are also understanding that demand side of it. So let's say while interacting with a school graduate, so what do you feel like till they reach to 12th? This also goes to you, Urvashi. Is there some specific streams that the people are coming that you felt an upward trends while they are choosing public policy as a career field? And the other part of that, Manu, have you observed a pattern or a trend? Okay, Priyanka, I can see from the last 5-6 years or in your tenure, there are 3 streams which are majorly going to merge into public policy as a professional or choosing the social impact or development sector jobs. So maybe I'll start with you.
So I'll say that when I started career counseling, obviously the majority of students who wanted to get into this space was from humanities sector. But I have seen a change in pattern over the course of years. So now I have seen many students who have taken PCB and they want to enter into any space, not necessarily medicine, but any space wherein they can bring a transformation. So for example, public health. So especially after COVID lockdown, this has emerged as a very trending space wherein people want to make a difference as to how we can provide quality healthcare, make it accessible to larger sections of population. So I have seen PCB students showing a good amount of interest in making a career in healthcare policies, especially engineers also. They also see that we can also bring a positive transformation by creating some tech policies which can also offer employment opportunities on one hand and also solve pressing problems of our society, of our nation. So then there are many engineers who also want to venture into tech policy as a possible career option. So now I think it has become more of a stream agnostic thing wherein people who are from different walks of life, be it from architecture, filmmaking, designing, science student, commerce students, they all feel that they can bring a positive or large scale transformation by taking a policy route for that matter.
I mean, just adding to Manu, we've also seen students from, medical background, students who've been architecture, like such rare fields wherein we don't automatically understand that there could be any connection to public policy, but they ventured into public policy and doing really great. For example, architectures in urban policy, and there's so many organizations working in urban policy space. So I think what one needs to understand is that I can be from this background and maybe some understanding of policy, and there's a policy at national level or state level related to that. So there would be organizations who are working in this space, and you can start venturing into such organizations is something.
So I think for the audience, like it's not necessarily that what background you're coming from, what stream you must have chosen in your 10th. You might be a science graduate, might be a commerce graduate, might coming completely from an art stream, let's say, or on 12th also. What I feel that public policy has a very multidisciplinary approach as well, and it's already a part of that. So maybe like Manu has mentioned, if you are coming from PCB, it's like stands for physics, chemistry, and biology streams specifically, but still you may want to emerge as and get into yourself into healthcare policies. Urvashi has also mentioned might be for architect graduates. It could be better if you are interested to make an impact at the large level. You can also get into urban policies, how the cities are designed, how you can improve, like how you can actually implement that architecture knowledge over there specifically to help the people at large. And just one follow-up question. Urvashi, you are from law background. You did your master's from Nalsar, right? And what I feel that public policy and law is also going hand to hand. Like it's a great, combination, I can say, right? Do you feel that some specific streams has an advantage over others?
Law, I mean, understanding of law definitely in some aspects, but I feel that even like without understanding the public policy lens, just having that legal knowledge won't work in this system. Sometimes actually it goes against you because the way a lawyer operates and thinks is slightly different in terms of how a public policy professional should ideally operate and think, and that lens of seeing things is different. So I feel law plus maybe some course in public policy, that could be a great combination if you want to venture. There's so many firms. In fact, most of the law firms also have started having their public policy wings as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a great place to be, but some understanding, I still feel that just by law degree, it would be slightly difficult.
Are there some biases in terms of industry perspective? matlab in terms of stream. So let's say ki when there is some public policy job is coming up. I'm just trying to understand the
Not
recruiter's
really,
perspective.
Yeah, not really, but for example, in tech policy, that's one space wherein I've seen that they kind of prefer people coming from BTech background.
Okay.
And with some, but that's not like, it's
mandatory. It's not
it's
mandatory.
not mandatory.
They're open to interview other candidates also.
Exactly.
For that.
So they're still open. They definitely have that, because sometimes, the requirement that has come has that specification that we need a candidate, and even to fulfill that project requirement, they have to hire a candidate with that particular background. So, but we feel that might change gradually.
Okay.
And I can see that change happening as well, even now. So, but one thing, I mean, just adding one more thing, hearing to Arun's point as well. I was thinking, one thing which I also have observed is that people who've entered this field are kind of still slightly clueless in terms of how to navigate the field, and even there's so many other young graduates who have no idea about this field as well. So it's both ways. So I feel the demand of mentorship, which we are also thinking of bringing in, is very important, because
the right guidance is needed, how to navigate.
So this would really help in giving the right guidance, and also not expanding to other states, not keeping it Delhi centric. Like Arun was saying, that one has to move to Delhi to be part of, to be seen in public policy. That should change. And I think what Public Policy Puzzle would do is to, break this, and hence it would be a platform wherein
we're all set to do that.
Maybe with technology, now it's time for Public Policy Puzzle and technology interventions to, bring a level playing field in public policy.
So basically, I think just adding to Urvashi's point, I've been into this space from the last 14 years into higher education, and substantially devoted my time to understand how technology could be liberating. And education and technology, when you reach to a lot many people at a much faster scale and at a rate, you should utilize technology for that. Because there's also one study which says for the young age group, specifically for the teens as well, for the like 12 to like 18 years, there's a national education policy. They have specifically highlighted the 46% time they're actually spending on phones and on digital channels, right? So maybe we have to reach out where they are available most of the time. And this is the best way. And this is also one of those vision behind starting Public Policy Puzzle, that maybe you have to reach there where they are, you have to speak their language, what they understand better, and then you have to make them understand what exactly public policy could be quite liberating for you, even as a citizen of India, or when you grow as a citizen of India specifically, because they are the future. Okay, coming back, putting the ball in your court, Arun, again. So Urvashi has mentioned that this particular space is still building up, still evolving, and most of the people are still trying to navigate. So how do you feel, how you map out the career in young professionals right now in public policy space? Across the domains specifically, matlab how it's been evolved, or what are the trends, or how you feel that it's changing in a way. And the second question which Urvashi has highlighted, here we are proud that OpenAI has hired the first employee from India. She was a public policy professional. But is it too difficult to handle government and corporate affairs in public policy? There's also a separate lens to see into it, because she was the professional hired specifically for handling government and corporate affairs, right? So is it like still like it is something, it's a kind of job, or maybe in the positive sense, it's not maybe too difficult, you need a very certain specific skill set, that these two things, handling multidisciplinary stakeholder engagement and communication, has to be a major part when you are looking to approach to public policy field.
Yes, Priyanka. So when you are working in the policy space, as you rightly said, there is a multi-stakeholder engagement that is required. If you're working for, let's say, a corporate client, they might have certain interests with the government department, let's say. And to understand their requirement and how that affects policy, you have to have an understanding of, okay, where are their interests coming from? How does that play within the industry? And what will the government respond? What is the government's priorities, and how will that, is there a synergy between the ask from the corporate client and the government? So the skill that you are coming up with is to, one, critically analyze the requirements from the client side, plus also trying to understand where the government is coming from, and second, how to navigate personal relationships within the government.
Okay.
So as simple as identifying who's the right person to go and talk to within the government. You have to understand the hierarchy of how a department functions. Do you directly go and speak to the secretary,
Okay.
or do you find maybe a deputy secretary or a director with whom you can get an opening, speak to them, figure out what is the department's thinking, and then build on that. So this is of course slightly later in your career, maybe 3-4 years in the sector, you will start interacting a lot with government bureaucrats and others in the system. But being in the public policy space, it is important to understand that understanding people is the key.
Okay.
And if we understand people, then you can navigate the system very well.
Okay. So there is also one, I won't say it controversial, but that is for all three of you, because we are more or less from the same space, all three of you. So whatever the conversations has been so far, I can understand one thing, ki discipline doesn't matter, stream doesn't matter, you can come up in this particular space. My question is this, so then whether public policy, what do you think, should be altogether a distinct discipline, like we have public administration? And if yes, at what level? Postgraduate level, graduation level, yeah? Or it is something to be incorporated across disciplines, starting from the college or the schools. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
You know, so let's say ki there is a public policy team, there are 10 people sitting in a war room, right, working on some sort of reforms, and might be these 10 are coming from different streams. There are 2 engineers, 2 tech guys, 2 liberal arts students, 2 commerce field students, maybe they're coming from different backgrounds, 2 architects, and then they are working together on a public policy problem, because you need different perspective, different lens to see that, because you're at the end of the day you're dealing with the public. And as you rightly mentioned, you have to have an understanding of the public, and I believe it has to be from both sides, right? The solution, the people from the other side also, for whom you are building and for whom you have to coordinate as well, you know. So yes, this question is to you, ki there is also debate whether do we really need public policy as a distinctive stream altogether, or it just has to merge in all the streams?
My quick take on this is that while it may take some time for public policy to emerge distinctively as an academic discipline, it is already there in foreign universities and slowly coming to Indian universities, where there are distinct programs called public policy programs. I think at present it is always better to get people from as many disciplines as possible, and these programs to attract as many students from as many disciplines as possible. If a policy program is attracting engineers, lawyers, social scientists, that's the best kind of a program.
Best one.
Because we need vantage point from all of these together.
Yeah.
What specific courses, let it be short-term courses or let it be long-term courses, what it probably would do is that it gives us a base understanding of the first principles of working in the policy space. And then when you get into the job market, this will be a strong foundation for you to jumpstart your career. I think that's where I'm coming from. That yes, it will be helpful to make sure that you are settled in your principles, first principles and the basics, and then kickstart your career.
Your thoughts, Manu?
I think I would advocate for all the 3 approaches. I think it should be included in school, at school level also, because public policy seems a very complex and terrifying thing sometimes. And it is very important to simplify and demystify it so that everyone can relate to it, because before they can be attracted toward anything, they should understand it. What do we understand by public policy and how it affects our day-to-day life? Then obviously at the graduation level, we now understand that any discipline cannot be studied in isolation. We need interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary education, and that is why public policy has to become part of every field, I would say. Whether somebody is studying medicine or engineering or social sciences or law, there has to have a module of public policy so that they also understand the policy implications of their discipline. And then maybe for public policy as a distinct discipline, we can have at both undergrad and postgrad level. At undergrad level, a person will study everything, the foundation or the first principles of public policy, and at master's level, he can deepen his understanding about a particular area of his interest.
Maybe a kind of specialization,
Yes,
like we
like
do in
somebody who
masters
wants to
and
get
all.
into tech policy or
Hmm.
health policy or climate change or educational reform, they can pick their specialization and do a master's or PhD in that.
Your quick take on that, Urvashi.
I mean, I think Manu has already answered it very well.
Okay.
But just one thing I feel is that public policy, I mean, wherever it is, needs to be more fun. It's too serious a discipline, as in we should have, more younger people, more fun, more energy in the way we see it. But it doesn't always have to be that straight face discussions like you're reading a policy memo kind of a thing. So I think that element of fun should also come in, and some playfulness in public policy should also come in. Maybe when it starts from school level, that thing would change.
And just to share an anecdote, I think my first introduction to public policy, but I'm not consciously thinking that it is public policy, but something that happened
Okay.
was when I was studying in IIT Madras, doing my undergrad there. I filed my first right to information. I filed my first RTI request with the hostel management department. I wanted to know how did they select the caterers for the mess, because I did not like the mess food.
Very nice.
Nice. So being aware is also
Yeah,
like
very
it's
practical.
very practical.
I did not like the mess food, so I wanted to know what are the criteria under which
That you
they are
choose
selecting
them.
the caterers, and I filed the RTI. And because I filed the RTI, the professors then invited me to be part of the committee which would go and taste the food of different caterers and make a decision.
So I
on
think
the-
that's the funny part.
Yeah.
First you raise the problem, then they say you come and solve
Solve
that
that.
also. So I think half of the people, they know that there is a problem,
Yeah.
but they don't want to raise it because
Yeah.
they know it'll gonna come back to
Yeah.
them. So I think, I don't know, this we can say also a system flaw or something like that,
Yeah.
but this is also helpful in a way, because if you have recognized it, if you're aware that you recognize and find a problem, and then you have raised it out to the concerned body, like you are not gonna have some sort of protest and sitting in front of vice dean or somebody's office. You know that how to approach it. You use that RTI and you approached it in a way, in a very sophisticated and civic manner, I can say, and then you were then sitting on the table wherein, okay, let's discuss, let's solve it out with you.
Yeah, so that was a interesting experience, which I think also helped me understand that, yes, as you rightly pointed out, the first step can always be go and ask.
Go and ask, yes.
What is the issue? Maybe it's just human nature to not be 100% super efficient with things. It's
Mhm.
ultimately a people's game. It's a human enterprise. There are going to be errors. But if we go and ask and figure out what is the issue and then try to solve it and contribute to that solution.
Okay. So again, like top 3 things, if you have to give advice to a young professional, just done graduation, exploring that field, what are the advice, like top 3 advices for you if they want to enter in this public policy field?
Top 3 advice.
Any anecdotes? Like one you gave, that's in general, but I want to be a little more specific.
Okay. So I think, Priyanka, to your question, a young professional who wants to get into the policy space, one, it is important to understand the space a little bit before committing yourself that, okay, this is the career trajectory that I want to take. Short-term courses on public policy can definitely help you give a glimpse into what the career trajectory might look like. And Manu here does a lot of effort to counsel students on what is possible for them. When I was studying in college and school, nothing like that was there. There's no counseling. I just went by the flow and then somehow ended up here. But now more opportunities are available to understand what a career might look like. So short-term courses in policy will definitely help. Second, if you get an opportunity to do even a short internship with, let's say, the DM's office in your district. DMs always want help. These may be unpaid internship, but you get information and experience of how schemes and programs are implemented at the local level. Just write to the DM. They might need some help. They will take you on board as an intern with the DM's office, work through that. The third one is to be always curious. you have to be curious in this field and really open-minded on perspectives. A lot of preconceived notions that I had before getting into the public policy space slowly withered away after I got into the system. I think our masala movies, for example, give us a very false sense of how fast change can happen. I think recently there was a movie in which an IAS officer is a DM one day, and the next day he becomes the election commissioner and fights against the villain. Now, or the most famous movie of the one day chief minister, Nayak. Now, just imagine, if you are the one day CM, who's going to listen to you for that one day? Because next day you have no power the next day. Maybe you ask, let's say, your subordinate to do something, they'll say, sir, it will take one day for the file to get prepared. Then you are gone. So our masala movies unfortunately have given a very wrong sense of how change can happen in our society. But with the short-term courses and your ability to understand what's happening around you, I think, there are options to get into the policy space.
I think we have been used to get attached to glamorous part of the things first, instead of being consistent and getting deeper into the field, because the glamorous part looks easy.
Yes.
And it's a shortcut kind of thing. Yeah.
And also, I think one thing which Arun is also saying is that public policy, I mean, just having that understanding also helps you to understand government's perspective on a lot of things. So right now we are always cribbing about so many things, but I think just to have that lens of, what's happening on the other side, it's not that easy. They are also, trying to balance multiple interests. So I think that way is also, it's a great subject to study even as a short-term course.
Great. So before we move ahead, Manu, this question goes to you also. Like, what do you feel like when you are counseling and you have made a big impact, like the great work that Career Saathi is doing right now, and 10,000, it's a big impact that you've created.
Thank you.
And maybe as Arun has rightly mentioned, maybe at that point in time, we were not exposed to the formal career counseling sessions, which is also the need of the hour, which you should have, because if you're just getting at it from the right person at the right time of your studies or career trajectory, obviously that can change a lot of things for you. That can make a lot of things easy for you. So something we are also trying to create a exclusive mentorship platform in terms of public policy puzzle. And that is for all, like whether you are still exploring this particular field or whether you are already there as an early or mid-career professional. So you would like to talk to higher professional or the seniors in this particular space at all the levels that we are bringing upon. So what's your take specifically for a young graduate, not even a graduate, maybe a 12 pass students, 3 things that, that's must have when you just want to. Just curiosity is one is coming in a big way. Curiosity, you must have a curiosity to understand this particular field. Anything that you would like to add
That's
up?
a great and a very important and critical point to understand by each student and each working professional. First advice that I always give, that before plunging into any career, before jumping into any career, they should first spend some time in terms of exploring themselves. What is it that drives them the most? Is it really public policy or is it something else? Or what kind of contribution they want to make and how they want to make that contribution. So I think purpose is also very important. Curiosity and purpose are very important ingredients of making a career in any field, especially public policy. Second, sometimes we have this FOMO, fear of missing out, and we want all the answers at one point of time.
Yeah.
But they should not fear. They should not have any fear. In fact, they should try to get some bit of knowledge through different platforms. They should watch more podcasts. They should read policy blogs. They should take mentorship from policy professionals. And I think platforms like Public Policy Initiative serves all these 3 purposes. So I think they should actively get engaged with these platforms as such. And also, you should not always have a structured approach. There are some fields wherein you have to navigate along with uncertainties. So in public policy, you might have to experience different setups, different ways of working at a policy issue, or different ways of working with different stakeholders. So someone who is open-minded and can navigate in different situations with different stakeholders, that kind of person will also enjoy these areas pretty well. So I think all these 3 things are very important for anyone who wants to think about making a career in public policy.
Coming back to you, Arun, when we have just having a conversation, you should have a curiosity, you should have purpose, specifically. One thing, you came into this particular field and you mentioned that like many young graduates, you just wanted a job. I'm coming to that space. Okay, we have discussed a lot of opportunities are emerging, how you can learn a lot, how you can see that from the government space. I would specifically want to ask a very direct questions. What kind of packages a young graduate can expect? Because see, when you are just getting a first job, your first priority is to earn decent to start your own life. Because see, mostly what I feel, if the people are coming from middle class or even like as a young professional and you're just started making your life, you do not want to take money from your parents and all for your survival. So this is, I think, one of those primary thing which motivate a young professional to get into any of the field at the start. So how this scenario looks like?
So the public policy space is quite varied, and the pay would depend on the kind of job that you end up taking. As I had already mentioned, you can work with the government, with the civil society, with multilateral organizations, and then private organizations. And the pay might vary from one.
So is it at par or competitive as what other professions are offering you at the entry level?
Actually, quite competitive. I can give, for example, within the government, within the central government ministries, when they advertise for a young professional role with 1 year of experience, usually the consolidated monthly pay is around 60 to 70 or 60, 75. And depending on the department, there might be some variations, but this is actually quite a good pay for somebody with 1 year of experience. So in a way, the policy sector is also now trying to attract the best of the talent in the space to come and join them and solve some problems for the government. So pay wise, I think quite okay for somebody who's joining in the sector. As you grow in the sector, then yes, depending on the kind of job that you have, there might be a disparity in pay between somebody, what possibly can be the maximum or the median. There will be some difference. But my approach to pay is that if you're content with what you are getting, you don't have to worry about what others are getting. That is my philosophy. So
that happens across the fields. Yeah. Okay. Before I wrap up, there's one controversial statement which has been like recently. There is a statement came from Piyush Goyal at Startup Mahakumbh, and which sparks a lot of controversies and conversations going on that China is investing a lot into deep tech, while here the entrepreneurs, they are still building the different variety of ice creams and young people are happy to become the delivery man and all. So again, a very sarcastic take, although I'm not getting into that, because if you hear the full speech, there's a very different intent that he has spoken. There's a very different angle to that. But yes, again, masala movies, we like masala movies. So the media just took that 30-second bite and we know only that part of it, right? From the public policy lens, what I believe, public policy space, they create the ecosystem. They become the enablers when we want to grow as a nation, right? So even when the industries are evolving specifically, when you wanted to get into deep tech or whether the startup culture has actually flourished a lot, because some sort of credit should also go to public policy space, because ease of doing business, government is also promoting, and they have a lot of incubation programs are coming in a big way. And in fact, academia is also coming in a big way. You talk about any top university, they have their incubation centers. In fact, public policy puzzle is also a part of NSR in Bangalore. So what do you think from the government angle? Public policy as an enabler to create job opportunities, right? For not young professional only in this particular space. If you just think from a nation as it is, if you want to grow, obviously we are not going to compete with China. They are ahead than that. Maybe 10 years back, they were also in where we are, they were also at the same pace. But you think that what are the ways to look into that particular lens? Public policy as an enabler, and maybe I just put it very simple. You told why a young professional should come and should consider this particular field. I'm taking an example. Why my mom should know public policy or fundamentals of public policy. There's a second part of it. Should she know or she shouldn't bother?
On the first part of the question, what the government can do to enable growth, and
because
how
we
public
say there
policy,
are no jobs, no? So as in, enable growth as in career-wise also as a nation as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka, for that question. Let me start with the first part on how the government can encourage more businesses to start up and how public policy can play a role in that. what the government has to try and do, which they are already doing, but a little more urgency, I think, is required, is to figure out a way to reduce the cost of starting up. There's a lot of regulations, and I'm not talking even in terms of monetary costs, but also in terms of regulatory costs that are associated with understanding the regulations and then following through on all of that. My approach, and if government can probably try and figure out a way to do it, is to trust but verify. You trust the startups to begin their operations and do the due diligence verification, yes, but let them get a leg up and let them start the work without worrying too much about the regulatory hurdles. Our entire governance ecosystem has to move towards a light touch model where the businesses function independently within regulatory oversight, reasonable regulatory oversight, but give them the freedom to that. The only way businesses can grow and mature into world-beating companies is if you do that light touch approach. That's the answer to the first question. Second, why should people care about public policy, or whether is it important for us to reach out to people? I think it is important to understand that everyone is trying to live their lives, and to expect people to follow and understand public policy or public finance or how budgets work, etc., is a tall order. What will help is to reach where they are. If they are watching, let's say, YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, what is a way in which we can make it relatable to them? The budget, and okay, let's say government recently announced, I think, 49 lakh crore budget. That 49 lakh crore is a big number. I don't think any one of us can imagine what that is. But can we bring it to an individual level? Can we say that, okay, because the government is spending 30 rupees out of every 100 rupees that they earn in paying back their debt, that is a problem. Maybe your paying taxes is going into paying the loan back for the government. Or can we even take it closer to them, that the government is spending not enough on public education, for example. Your children are not able to get, let's say, a computer laptop from a branded company because the procurement was rigged in some way that it goes to some generic laptop maker bringing imported Chinese laptop into India and plastering it with some icon or whatever. So that is the key. How do we personalize public policy? Because to make people care, I think it has to have some connection to their daily lives also. And I think that's something that we can all strive to do.
Okay, so I think I'll wrap this up before we move to the fun part of it, because I'll just ask Urvashi to take over and just ease all of us out with all those serious topic or discussions we went into. But that was quite a eye-opening, insightful conversation we have. Closing remarks from all three of you.
So my closing remarks is to all the young professionals who are coming into policy, trying to make a difference. Long ago, a professor of mine in college mentioned this quote in class, and that has been my mantra all throughout life, which is that no man-made system is immune to human deceit. You cannot make a foolproof 100% system that will not be exploited by others. Having said that, our effort should always be try and minimize. Having said that, what I believe is that we have to strive for perfection, but let perfection not be the enemy of good.
Good.
Yeah.
Manu?
Closing remarks. You want to start first?
I think, just very quick remark. I feel that public policy is here to stay, at least for next decade. I strongly feel that this could be one of the most aspirational career options that could come up for young graduates, and let's not land into this field by accident. Let it be by choice from here on.
And I would like to say that public policy is a very interesting, emerging, and exciting interdisciplinary field, and someone who's interested in multiple things. We are confined to make career choices very early on in our career by choosing a particular stream. But life does not work that way. You need technical skills, you need financial skills, you need social skills. And I think public policy is one such field which gives a chance to utilize all these skills towards a meaningful work. So I think in case if people become more and more aware about public policy as a discipline, they will definitely try and make their career in it. But I think we need some platforms, we need some forums wherein public policy is demystified, simplified, and it can be presented in a very simple yet fun and engaging manner. And I think Public Policy Puzzle initiative is one such initiative in this direction, and I hope that this initiative and many more will come up in future, which will make public policy fun, exciting, and something that can be taken up by our young generation.
Here, it's been wonderful to all three of you here in this particular conversation and this episode, because this is going to be very insightful for all the young professionals over there. And even through Public Policy Puzzle, our vision is to make public policy accessible, aspirational, and actionable. Because the more you know, the better you ask. Why is that? Why is that? And the better questions you ask, you help as a nation to build better and also to grow better. So that vision, we cannot have it till the time you're not understanding the space a little more better. So with that, I'm closing this conversation here.